Hey guys, it's Paul from Team APS. So today I wanted to show my Tenyi deck. This is just a fun deck that I've kind of been playing on the side. It's very budget. I'm not running anything expensive except for one extra deck card that you can pretty easily replace. Alright, so we'll hop into this. Tenyi, just for those who don't know, are not really like, a fantastic archetype. They have a couple of monsters that are used as like sort of techable engines in other decks, but as a deck on the whole, it's not great. It's just fun. I like worms, I like multi-attributed things, so they fit the bill perfectly. Fill the void that Yang Zing's left in my heart when they got rid of Dinglong. So, Tenyi Spirit of Shuna. This is the newest one. It came out of Chaos Impact. I like it the most because honestly, I think this deck really needed it. So basically, all of the Tenyis have the ability to summon themselves from your hand just to the field while you don't have any effect monsters. So basically, if you have nothing on the field, you can always summon them. Or if you have something like a Monk of Tinnie, which we'll get to, you can summon them. So that's always great. They make for easy link material, just special summons. It means you don't have to use your normal summon to do things. And then with a Shuna, if you banish it from your graveyard, because they all have effects where, like, if you control a face-up non-effect monster, you can banish them from the grave and do different things. A Shuna summons a Tenyi monster from your deck, which is huge. It's also level 7, which is pretty helpful for making your Draco Berserker. So all in all, I think this is the best card, and you don't really get much of a choice. You just need to be running 3. Next is Isadora, probably my second favorite. So same general gist, it can summon itself. It's a tuner, which is very helpful. It plus a Shuna makes 8, so that's really good. You can run a lot of different 8s in this deck, but I'm actually only running Draco Berserker. Anyway, so it can banish itself from the grave if you have a face-up non-effect monster and actually target one of your banished Tenyis and add it back to your hand. Since they'll all be banishing themselves over time, this is a really useful effect for looping them back and keeping a measure of control and resource management and all of that. So it's very handy. And if you wanted to run something like 1-for-1, for instance, you could and then summon it with that, but I don't. Anyways, Tenyi Spirit Vicuna. This one is probably the most infamous one. It's actually been used in other decks like Orcists in the past. So you summon it and all that, and you can make like Monk of Tenyi, and then its graveyard effect can banish itself and get rid of a card in the field. You can bounce one of your opponent's cards, and that's very helpful if you're going second. You might need ways of dealing with, just some troublesome boss monster that's in the field. Also level 7, that's nice. Next, there's Sthana. This is the water one. So whenever one of your monsters gets destroyed, you can actually banish this card from the graveyard, and a non-effect monster gets destroyed, by the way, I should say. You can banish it from the graveyard, you can resummon that monster, and then you can destroy a monster your opponent controls. And that doesn't target, so that's very helpful. These are kind of where the protect the castle strategy comes in a bit more. It's just a graveyard protection, like the next two as well. That's Nahada. Anyways, this is the win one. Looks really cool. This can boost your non-effect monster's attack by 1500, which is really helpful. It could get you more damage on the board. It could even help with maybe an OTK. I don't actually find it to be fantastic or anything, but it's nice to have extra Tenyi names because these are the ones that you can normal summon, so that's why it's important. 2 Mapura. I should probably be running 3 copies of this. I actually couldn't find a 3rd copy, so I've just been running 2. This is the fire one, and basically whenever your opponent targets a face-up non-effect monster with like a card effect, you can banish it from your graveyard or hand. I actually forgot to say this can all banish from hand. You generally don't want to. You almost always want to be doing that from the grave, but they can banish from hand, and you can negate that effect and destroy that card. So it's very handy, and of course it's a level 4, so it's easy to summon. So that's all for the Tenyi monsters. Like I said, you could run like an extra copy of Mapura, but other than that, it's just maxing out on everything, really. So next is Mermere. Some people run 2 copies of this. I found it a little bricky. I always found that I only needed 1. There's lots of ways to pitch it to the grave or whatever. So Mermere can reduce its level by 1 and summon a token. You can do that up to thrice per turn. I think it's the only card in the game that uses that word. But anyways, it's a tuner as well. So basically, if you summon like 3 tokens, then it'll be level 4, and you'll also have 3 level 1 tokens. The tokens are great for level manipulation of Mermere itself, and the tokens are actually non-effect monsters. They can trigger a few certain effects that come up. And all in all, it's just really good. You can use Shaman of Tinnie to summon this easily from your graveyard. You can actually summon it with, what is it? The Yazi, Yang Zing Yazi. So there's a lot of synergy here. It's a worm, all that stuff. I run Phantom Sky Blaster. I feel like this could probably be another Mare, but I do like that you can normal summon Phantom Sky Blaster, get its tokens, and still use its tokens to make some of your Link monsters and stuff. So all in all, very valuable. Phantom Sky Blaster is just a good card. It's limited to one for a reason. And then Triple Ash Blossom, just common ones. It's the most accessible, flexible hand trap, so why not run it? Okay. Next, Flawless Perfection of the Tinnie and a Terraforming. I was running 3 copies of this, but you really don't, there's like nothing good that comes from seeing 2 copies. With these types of field spells for these weaker archetypes, though, they tend to give them, well, not the best effects. So basically all your non-effect monsters are unaffected by monster effects. That's pretty cool, it's a nice protection. And if your opponent special summons an effect monster while you have a face-down monster or a non-effect monster, you can draw 2 cards. Now this is really helpful because Tenyi definitely can always use the extra card advantage. They're always summoning themselves pretty much from the hand. So this is nice, but if you see 2 of it, there's no use. It's not like something like Magical Meltdown or Union Hanger or, you know, Hidden City where you get a plus on activation. So that's why I chose to only run 2 and a Terraforming. Next up is Vessel for the Dragon Cycle, a card that is actually one of the best designed, like, sort of pitch search spells. It reminds you of the Mayakashi spell too. It's cool, so you get to send a worm monster from your deck to the grave. It's any worm, not just a Tenyi, so you could send Mare. And then if you have a Tenyi, you can actually add another Tenyi that just got a different name from your deck to your hand. So ideally, you can use this after summoning one of your Tenyi monsters, pitch a Mare, and then grab whichever Tenyi you need. Oftentimes a Shuna or a Dara or maybe Vicuna, but you never know, whichever one you want. I really like this card. I think more archetypes, more lower tier archetypes could use cards like this. So it's cool. 2 Pot of Desires. This deck has a really big problem with maintaining hand advantage. So anything that you can do to get a +1 is absolutely vital. And since we can't run Extravagance or Card Demise or anything like that, this is the best thing you got. And it's not bad. Like once you get a few Tenyies in circulation, you typically don't need to have too many others that are like left in your deck, so I don't find that the banish hurts too much. Foolish Burial and Monster Reborn. These work well with a lot of the cards you already have, so they're staples, not a lot to say about them. 2 Twin Twisters. So this is just to get rid of back row. This deck can't play through much of anything, so any cards that you have to get rid of back row are great. And you don't mind pitching Tenyies from your hand to use this because most of them have useful grave effects, so it's okay. And finally, the traps. I'm running 2 Waterfall of Dragon Souls. So this can either search a worm monster from your deck to your hand, or it can send any number of worms you control or in your hand to the grave, and you draw cards equal to the amount that you sent +1. Either way, it's just a 0, which kind of sucks. I always wished that like at least the draw effect could maybe have been a +1, especially since they made this a trap, so it's a little bit slower to actually work. But it's not a bad card. It's cool because it's chainable, so like, you know, if your opponent uses Twin Twisters or something, Cosmic Cyclone on it, you can just chain it and get a pretty useful effect. It lets you get to your Tenyies, but I only run 2 because I just don't really want to be like seeing this card all day long, right? It's not the best thing in the world. Fists of the Unrivaled Tinnie. So basically, if you have a non-effect monster, you can negate anything. It's an omni-negate. The only problem is this doesn't destroy the card, so you want to be careful with what you're negating. You want to try to like negate spells or traps or something like that, as opposed to maybe a monster, because your opponent will still get to keep it on the field. Also, if this gets destroyed, it's kind of like Waking the Dragons. While it's set, you can summon a non-effect monster from your extra deck. So that would probably just be like a Berserker of Tinnie or something. It's just a big beat stick. But yeah, this card's still really good. They obviously like it. If you can have this set up with your field spell that this. If you can have like Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi and like Flawless Perfection and stuff, you can have a nice little bit of field control going. So yeah, that's a nice thing to have. Then my final trap is Skill Drain, because we're literally playing a deck that's about preferably having non-effect monsters on the field. So Skill Drain can hurt your opponent far more than it can hurt you. So that's why I like it. And that's all for the main deck. So for the extra deck, Monk of the Tenyi. It takes any Tenyi monster that's not a Link monster. So this is how you pretty much start your combos. He's a non-effect monster. He's handy. I actually wish there were more reliable ways of adding him back to the extra deck, so you can eventually run out in a game, so you have to be careful. Shaman of Tenyi can actually summon any worm monster from your graveyard by pitching a card. I wish you didn't have to pitch the card sometimes, because Like I said, this deck can have some problems with hand advantage, but the fact that you can summon Mare is very useful. The fact that you can resummon a lot of the more powerful Link monsters or Synchros is also very powerful, but it does lock you into War monsters for the turn, and it has another effect too. If one of your non-effect monsters battles, you can pop a card your opponent controls, so that's nice to have. It just sucks that Shaman of Tenyi itself isn't very big. It would have been nicer to give this maybe like 1900 attack. I think she would have been better. Draco Masters of the Tinnie. I should probably be running 2 of this, but for now I'm just running 1. So he can pop cards equal to the number of non-effect monsters you control. It's pretty good, and it's got some of the best arrows you can ask for. All 3 downwards is very good, so it's nice. 2 Berserker of the Tinnie. So this just takes 2+ monsters, including Link monsters, which you'll pretty much want to turn your monks into. He's a big beater. I don't like that they gave him arrows that are kind of more benefiting for your opponent, but that's how it is. Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, good synchro monster. It actually can banish your opponent's cards each turn, and that's very, very valuable. Even though it doesn't negate an effect, it just changes to a monster's effect, so it's kind of worth noting. And then it can gain attack when it attacks and get another attack, and lots of damage. That's always nice. Link Spider and Landfornicus. So these cards are good. You can turn tokens into this, and this is just another non-effect monster for those weird situations where you're out of Monk of Tenyi and you just need something to make. I also run Baxia, which is cool because it can bounce things, and Yazi because it can summon Mare. Those are both really great cards. I actually like their effects, and they remind me of Yang Zings, and they're beautiful. And finally, Mech Knight Crusader Avermax, which is the truly expensive card that you don't have to really run in here. You could run a Borlo Dragon or anything that you can get your hands on. I just like it because you'll be going through a lot of Link monsters, so that's why it's so helpful. Okay, that's it for my Tenyi deck. Hopefully you guys liked it. It's just a fun, budget, kind of casual thing that you can play with friends and enjoy yourself with. Alright, that's it. Hopefully you guys liked it. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to APS Deck Check, of course, and I'll see you guys next time with some other cool profiles for you.